But another question I have, Joshua, is about Elijah Schaffer. So last night it was announced that Elijah Schaffer basically got fired from the Blaze, and a lot of people think that this is in regards. Elijah basically he made some comments about Mormonism and Mormons not being real Christians and them going to hell. Elijah is very Christian, and Glenn Beck is very Mormon. And Glenn Beck is like the owner of the Blaze. Mm-hmm. And Elijah Schaffer basically came out and said, like, Mormons aren't Christians and they're going to hell. And Glenn Beck was really annoyed about this. And this is what a lot of people think that this was about. Now, I don't think that's the case. I don't think so at all, because Elijah made those comments in May and the Blaze didn't fire him until just now. And so it doesn't take that long. If Glenn Beck wanted Elijah Schaffer gone, he would have been gone immediately. It wouldn't have taken months to get here. So I don't think he was fired for that. But can we see, was Elijah Schaffer fired for making comments about Mormons?
Yeah, let's see. And tell me when to stop shuffling on that.
Stop.
Let's see here. I think there were a bunch of things. I don't think it was just that one issue. Seven of Cups is like, you know, options and possibilities and like temptations. And it's also, I think, a myriad of things, right? I don't think it was just one. I think with 10 of Cups, Elijah was sort of closing a cycle and probably moving into areas that the powers that be didn't like very much. And really, it was probably about who's the boss. Like with this card, it's a problem being the boss or with your boss, right? So I think they were probably having a pissing contest. And Glenn was like, I'm pretty sure Glenn's an Aquarius. And at a certain point, Aquarius, like, if you're too much freaking trouble, you're done, right? I think that's probably what happened. So, yeah, I think that it was more than that. That was probably one thing, but I think there were more things. I think it was like a boss issue, a who's the boss issue.
And can we see, is like Elijah going to land on his feet? Because I like Elijah. I want him to land on his feet. Your internet is so much better now, Joshua, by the way.
Oh, good.
God.
Will Elijah land on his feet? He feels like he certainly will. Doesn't he?
I think he will. I think he's going to be fine.
Do me a favor and just say, well, what's ahead for Elijah Schaffer?
What's up
and will
for
he
Elijah?
land on his feet?
What's ahead for Elijah Schaffer, and will he land on his feet?
Oh, big stuff. Good stuff. Like, there's a lot of money around him, actually.
Good. I'm glad for him.
Tell me when to stop shuffling.
Stop.
Schaffer, and will he land on his feet? I think this was probably the best thing that could have happened to him.
It almost always is. Getting fired is almost always a really good thing.
I think so.
I know that sounds weird, but it just universally turns out to be the truth.
Always.
Yeah.
Always. I've never heard of anybody getting fired. I mean, of course, it's a traumatic experience and you have to go through like the shock, but afterwards, like, it's never a bad thing.
Yeah.
So, I think that he is in this transitional phase with the moon card. He might be a little bit confused. There might be a certain amount of pressure, but then we get the judgment card. So, I do think that he will land on his feet. And I feel like energetically, this is what I feel like. I feel like energetically, there's a lot of money around him. Like, he could do so much better. We're talking like his own platform. I think it could like spiral and be like super successful. But what I'm getting here with the moon and the 10 of Wands, I don't think that he's aware of that, which is kind of funny. Isn't he? Is he? I don't know of him, but he's not cocky and arrogant.
I haven't spent that much time around him. I think that there are some ways in which he's cocky and arrogant, and there are some ways in which he's not cocky and arrogant, if that makes any sense. But it wouldn't like he's young. He's young. Like I think he's like what, like 30 or something like that. So it could be one of those things where he does not know how much power he has in the situation. But if you look at what he's done before, he had 2 shows on the Blaze a year ago. He had 2 shows. And now I don't know what's like, one of them kind of like his partner quit, and like, you know, that was a public falling out, and then I don't know what's going on with the other one. But like, you know, he was like, he had a lot of success at like a really young age. So there's no reason why he can't continue to have that success. He doesn't need the Blaze to be successful.
Right. And I think that I believe that there's probably something Neptunian going on in his chart that's clouding his vision and not letting him see like the light. And it also is Mercury retrograde. So it's not really a good time to be like, okay, I'm going to jump here. Do you know what I mean? Like he needs to sort of wade this out. But I do think that I think he's going through it. So if anybody's a fan of his, I would definitely go out of your way, send him love, support. I think that would be a really good thing to do, because I think that he's going to be wildly successful. But I don't think that he's aware of that right now. I think, you know, when you get fired, it is a trauma. Do you know what I mean?
It is. It's very traumatic, especially if you've never been fired before. And I don't know if he's, you know, I bet you that he has not been in the position of being fired from someplace like this before, because this is a big deal. The Blaze is a big deal. Yeah. But you know what? I have no doubt that he can move forward and do whatever he wants to do.
I think he's daunted right now, but I think he's going to be fine. And that's the thing. Like this is where the free will comes in. If he doesn't get out of his own shit, so to speak, like he's not going to be able to procure those opportunities that are absolutely readily available to him. Like there's so much money, I think, around this guy. I think he could surpass Glenn Beck easily. I don't think it's going to be an issue if he allows himself to, like, you know, go through it. He's just, you know, it also has been working so hard. When you get fired too, or you have some kind of loss, you do have to go through that like mourning, letting go, nursing your wounds, you know, dicking around for a bit and not working hard. Because I imagine he's a very hard worker.
Oh, yeah. I remember like the last time I got fired from a job, it was so traumatic for me because I had been working so hard, and then all of a sudden it was just over. And I was lucky that I got a really good fucking severance package when I got fired. So I didn't actually have to go back to work for a while because it wasn't my fault for getting fired in the first place. And so like I really did. It was traumatic for me. Like I didn't know what to do with myself. I went from working all the time to just doing nothing. And there were times when I would randomly break down crying. I was like, my career's over, blah, 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 blah. And it turned out to be fine. It all turned out to be fine, and it always turned out, but like that mourning period is so critical. You've got to allow yourself to like mourn the job and just give yourself some downtime to like regroup.
Absolutely. I mean, what I think is just so ironic. It's like, oh yeah, no, get a full-time job. You'll have stability. What the hell is stability when they can fire you at any point when you're an employee at will? I mean, it is the most ridiculous thing in the world. Like how they purport that a full-time job gives you stability. I'm sorry, but nothing is more unstable than being able to go into work one day and finding your shit packed up in a box. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I totally agree. I would never go back to working for someone else. Like it's too precarious. Like if the wrong person comes in, then it's like there's just nothing you can do if like the wrong person comes in, and that's completely out of your control. And it's like, I mean,
they like the stability of a full-time job. I mean, I think that's crazy town. Crazy town.
I do. The only true security is working for yourself and becoming successful yourself and learning that you can make money yourself. You don't need an employer to do it. And it's scarier because you sometimes don't know where that paycheck's going to come from. But once you learn how to do it, you can always do it.
But and at least you are in control in the sense that if you do something and you try something and it's not working, well, there's a lot of options, right? There's so many things that you can do. And I mean, I think you have to work 3 times as hard working for yourself. But I think at the end of the day, I mean, like, for instance, you and I both work for ourselves, right? And the idea, like, we'll be up really, really late, on a weeknight, perhaps you especially, until like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
The idea of doing that for somebody else is, I think, outrageously ridiculous. Do you know what I'm saying? Can you imagine putting all the effort that you do in your career to pad somebody else's bank balance? Doesn't that sound like completely ridiculous?
It sounds like hell, and especially when the person probably isn't going to treat you very well, is not going to appreciate half the things you do. Like when I've been coaching people in workplaces, I tell them to stop working so fucking hard and just watch what happens. It's like, wait and see if your boss even notice that you are putting in half the effort that you used to and taking more time for yourself. And most of the time, no one notices. And it is always the most shocking thing to people. They're like, I was killing myself. I was coming in early. I was staying late. I was working weekends. I was doing all this extra stuff. And I'm like, just stop and watch what happens. And they never notice. And it's like, okay, you're still getting paid the same amount of money. You're doing half the work. You have more free time. You're taking care of yourself better. Isn't this a better situation?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think for anybody who is going into a new job, do make sure that you know, when you get into a new job, you're green, you're wet behind the ears, you're really excited, you want to perform well, but you don't want to set up expectations that you're going to be working all night long or on the weekend. You've got to be very, very careful. It's almost like that teacher on the first day of class. Like it's better to be a hard ass and then like lighten up, or better to like only do your job. And then as time progresses, then do what you need to do. But don't set the expectation that you're going to kill yourself, because you won't last long. You'll have burnout, you know?
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Fascinating stuff.
All right, guys. Well, let's jump into the show. The show's halfway over, so we might as well start the show. Guys, welcome to Nothing Remotely Controversial. This is a show that Joshua and I do on Tuesday nights at 9:30, where we talk about the news and really whatever we feel like talking about. And Joshua, who is a professional psychic, uses his psychic and astrology and tarot card prowess to help us peer beneath the surface and show us what's really going on.